Hello everyone, good evening and welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. Please like, share and subscribe. I'm a licensed cognitive behavior therapist and a mental health counselor. The reason that I started this channel was to spread awareness for missing children, for missing victims, for people who are suffering of mental health illness and mental health issues like victims, basically, to be a voice for people who do not have a voice of their own. Recently, I've been following the case, not recently actually, right from June 15, 2021, I've been following the case of Summer Moon Utu Wells, and so have most of my subscribers. I do try to take other awarenesses too, put in clips of things that I think are kind of important for us as parents, for us as, just to be aware of in general. But there are a couple of cases that I've taken close to my heart, and one of the cases is Alvin and Orson, Cincinnati Classic, Pettis. They were adopted to Trezell and Jacqueline West. This happened in 2018. They became their foster parents and they had two of their own biological children. They adopted Orrin and Orson, and then they took them in as foster children. They had two of their own sons, biological sons, and the couple one was 34. Trezell was 34 years old when this happened, and Jacqueline was 32 years old or 31 years old. None of them had any stable job or any income. Plus, they had two of their own biological children, so obviously there's concern that they had their own two children. There should be concerns. And then they had two biological children. And then they had two other foster children that they eventually adopted, who were around the same age as their children, I believe around 10, 11 or 12. And then they adopted Cincinnati Classic. They named them Orrin and Orson West. They changed their birth names from Cincinnati Classic Pettis to Orrin and Orson West. They stayed with them, basically with all the 6 children. They stayed in Bakersfield, California, and then later on they moved to California City. When they moved to California City, they did not report the boys missing, although the boys were already, now that we know, the boys were already missing since September 2020. The parents called California City law enforcement at 5:30. This was on 2020 December 2020, and they said that the two boys were playing with chalk outside in the backyard, and Trezell came out with the lousy story saying that he went to fetch wood and he saw the boys, and then he came back with the wood and they were gone. He said he hit a bunch of corners. He said he drove around and checked the neighborhood, but he couldn't see the boys. A lot of the story, that basically the timeline and the only time they spoke on the media, a lot of it did not make sense. People were shocked because this wasn't only one child, this was 2 children's life. They both came with, you'll have definitely seen the interview of Trezell and Jacqueline, where they both came with masks and fully equipped like they were going to some kind of war. The whole timeline and the whole story did not make sense. Then the whole of California and everyone, the neighbors, everyone in Bakersfield, California City, started searching for the boys. Thank you to the people in California, the YouTubers, many YouTubers. It'll be really selfish of me just to say certain names, because there were many people that covered this case, from the AV Watchman to Crenshaw to Doug to Duty Ron to many others. And we as subscribers, before I open my channel, I used to be in every chat, and that's actually how I was paying attention to YouTube, even in 2018 and 19 and 17 and all. But this case really drew me. I was watching the Chris Waltz case, and that really touched my heart too, because that was one evil person, sociopath, antisocial personality disorder, whatever symptoms he had. But he was one person who was without empathy. That is, for all of you, yeah, for the people who don't know about Chris Waltz case, I'm sure you all must have heard. He was the guy that murdered his 2 children and his pregnant wife, and you can kind of Google it up in case you haven't seen. It's just so heartbreaking that I prefer not to speak about it. May that whole family except him go to heaven. That's actually another interesting topic about Chris Walton and his wife Shannon. The way they met and all in Facebook and all. You can never predict your fate. You don't know which partner is good for you and which isn't. But then I believe social media is another form of like the way Trump used to say fake news. Sorry, not exactly fake news, but it's like there's so much unreality. There's things that are not real at all. People fake their lives, fake their beliefs, fake whatever they want to. So that story, I believe that Shannon was going through a lot with the lupus condition, her anxiety, her stress, with all the trauma and everything that obviously you can imagine. Just lupus itself would definitely make a person completely low in their moods and give them depression and anxiety and all. So I think when she started fixing herself and getting life in the right track and all, that's the time she met this evil person on the internet, and she thought that she found the right person. Because that's the thing, people can make themselves make themselves be the perfect gentleman or the perfect woman on social media. And even in reality, that's what it takes a lot to get to know a person. And it's worth taking the risk, like the time of getting to know a person completely, because even a person you've known for 20 years, you may not even know until way down in your life, whether it's friends, whether it's spouse, whatever it is. That's why it's always important to make wise decisions, and if not wise decisions, to at least try and make sensible decisions. It took me many years in my life to understand the word my mom used to always tell me: consequences, be careful. Everything you do, every action has a reaction. And you know when you're a teenager and in your early 20s and all, you think, oh, I don't have to hear it, but I'm different and I'm not like other teenagers. I'm not like other people in my age in the 20s or 30s or whatever. But then you learn to a lot the older you get in life. You do, actually. And what is interesting for me is that I think starting when I started 4 or 5 years, no, 7 years ago now, when I was in 6 years ago when I was in university, I remember when I studied mental health. It took me time to make that decision to study counseling. But one of the things that got me into counseling is, it was like 6 years ago, 5.5 years ago. I remember thinking to myself, everywhere I look around in this world, no matter which culture you're from, no matter what religion you are, no matter what faith you have, no matter what belief you have, people still suffer physical problems and mental problems. But the sad thing is that the good thing with physical problems, I personally believe, is it's always been there. Doctors has always been there since day one. God bless us with doctors, so they take care of our physical health, and we are supposed to actually take care of ourselves to start with. But what I've noticed, besides the doctors, is like mental health has always been a challenge from many, many years ago. If you remember, even just in the 90s and 2000s and all that, people would like, if they see you depressed or sad and all, it's just because we did not know anything about mental health. Or if they saw someone who has a bipolar diagnosis or some other diagnosis, automatically they used to address them as that they're insane and insanity and all, which is seldom used. We try not to use that. It's not the right mental health word. Or we used to say things like, oh, that person's lost the plot or something like that. But then when you think about it, mental health is real. And it's important, I believe, that everyone should understand. Mental health is really real. And we never know how real it is till we hear that someone we love or someone we care for maybe committed suicide. Or maybe something happened to them, or maybe they're suffering of schizophrenia or bipolar or any other illness. So it's like, I think it's really important as human beings that we educate ourselves and educate each other with mental health. Have an open mind to mental health awareness, because mental health affects all of us. I remember Biggie, the rapper who died in 1996. I don't know, I think he got the quote from someone else, but he says it in one of his tunes. He says, a mind is a terrible thing to waste, and that is true. So what I basically mean is, like, when a doctor says take care of your physical health and look after your heart and go for a jog and go for a run, yes, that is definitely important. Your organs and everything is really important. So all those things are really useful, even for your mental health, by taking a jog, by taking a run. It is. What I'm trying to say basically is, all these things we usually mention and prioritize health always. But I think I personally believe we should focus more on the part called mental health, because there is so so many statistics that mental health is increasing, whether it's schizophrenia, whether it's bipolar, whether it is depression, anxiety, PTSD, suicidal rate. And what people don't understand is this: when you suffer of a physical health, just say if you suffer of a thyroid condition, you may end up using medications that give you depression, and then you'll have to use antidepressants, and then that can lead you into clinical depressions and maybe later to bipolar, such things, God forbid. So what I'm trying to say is that mental health should be taken more serious. We should be taking good self-care of both our physical health and definitely our mental health. We need to be more focused on even our thoughts. As a cognitive behavior therapist, I really believe that the way we think, we need to change a negative way of thinking. To start with, identify a problem. See, it's like, just say if somebody has alcohol addiction, example, or drug addiction, we can't force them or make them understand that it's wrong. We tell them and we let them talk about what is bothering them